Hey there guys, this is Sam
and Justin
at the Survival Review, and today we're going to be talking about one of the best, if not the best, horror anthology movies ever, Creepshow.
Yes. Directed by the master George A. Romero.
And written by Stephen King.
With effects by Tom Savini.
Like, how do you get better than
this? It's the perfect combination. It's incredible.
And it really is and as good as you would expect from those three guys.
It actually is. It's one of the best anthologies because it has 5 stories in the movie, and they're all good.
All of them are good.
Yeah, some are better than others, but they're all solid, entertaining stories.
They really are. And like, all of them are memorable for their own reasons. Yes.
One of the great things about this movie is it's one of the few movies you can actually say it's a comic book come to life.
Definitely. The way that it's filmed is meant to be a comic book.
Exactly. And the way scenes are lit, with like over-the-top lighting that's not realistic at all. Like when something scary happens, the whole screen turns red and stuff like that. It's straight out of a comic book. It's so great.
It is.
The movie is bookended with this little story about this kid who has this comic book, which is essentially a Tales from the Crypt comic book, except it's just called Creepshow.
Yeah.
This movie is essentially a Tales from the Crypt movie, except it is Creepshow, and it's not actually based off of anything, but you could easily see this being a Tales from the Crypt movie.
Yeah.
And this kid, his father is not happy that he's reading these comic books.
Yeah.
And his father is played by the great Tom Atkins.
Tom Atkins!
Yeah.
Our boy.
A mustache was Tom Atkins, which is really weird.
Yeah, like, him not having a mustache seriously feels like just a blank canvas.
It does.
Is on his face.
It's really strange.
It feels weird.
But he's this really strict father who's just angry that his son's reading this comic book.
I find you with a worthless piece of shit like this again, you won't sit down for a week, buddy boy.
And so it's a really good way to intro the movie. Because you've had experiences like that when you were a kid, if you're people like us who like this stuff.
Yeah.
With parents being like, you probably shouldn't be watching or reading this stuff. So I love that intro. It's so great.
It really is.
And then there's an epilogue at the end that it kind of pays off for that. I don't want to go into what it is without spoiling it.
But it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. And then this whole animated sequence begins, which is awesome. And then we go right into the first story, which is called Father's Day.
Father's Day.
Yes.
This is one that a lot of people remember really well.
There's a lot of great quotable moments in the movie.
Definitely. So Father's Day follows this wealthy family. It's made up of a mom, her son, her daughter, and the daughter's husband.
The daughter's husband is played by Ed Harris.
Yeah.
Which is really weird to see him in like an old 80s horror movie.
Yeah, it is weird, but it's cool.
And he has one of the best scenes in the movie where he dances.
Yes.
It's the 80s in a nutshell.
Pretty much. But we love it. It really is good. And the one other person in the family is Bedelia. Bedelia isn't with them to start out. Like, they actually talk about Bedelia before she kind of comes into play. And how years and years ago, Bedelia was tormented by her father. Who was just this old, bitter man.
Yeah.
Absolutely horribly unlikable. And there are these flashbacks that go to him just constantly smacking his cane on his chair, asking for things and yelling and just putting her down.
Where's my cake?
Where's my cake? And he keeps yelling and banging his cane. And she's completely fed up.
So what does she do?
She hits him over the head with an ashtray. And kills him.
Yes.
So now, every year on Father's Day, she comes back to go to the grave. So she comes back this year, and it doesn't go quite as she expected.
Because her father also comes back.
Yeah.
So this one is a very simple story. The other ones get more complicated. This one's very straightforward. Just like the dad comes back to life.
And kills him.
Yeah. But it's a really well done story. The makeup on the corpse zombie kind of, whatever you want to call him, is really good. It's an easy story to start them off.
Yeah, it definitely kind of eases you into just what the movie is going to be.
Yes. Prepares you for what's to come, because what's to come escalates. It gets crazier.
It gets wackier and wackier, and just like it gets a lot more fun.
Which leads us to the second story,
which is called The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill.
Yeah.
This one, it's only about one character, who is played by none other than Stephen King himself.
Holy old Jesus!
Oh my god, it's the most ridiculous, exaggerated redneck ever.
Yeah, seriously, just way over the top, and I love it.
Completely silly, and it's so crazy to watch this and be like, yep, that's the guy who scared millions of people by his stories.
Yeah, like this completely just crazy, weird,
hammy,
silly
it's
dude.
chewing the scenery like no other.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous, but it's so hilarious at the same
really
time
is funny.
that you just gotta love it. And the plot of this one is he lives alone on his farm, and this meteor crashes. And so his idea is to bring it in and get a ton of money for it. He ends up touching it.
And getting this meteor shit on his hand.
Meteor ship.
And that leads to some bad stuff.
Yes. It grows like a fungus, kind of. It grows.
It's this just plant.
Yeah, like a plant. And when it touches water, it grows. It's even more. And this just escalates. It grows and grows and grows.
It's just him getting surrounded and it growing around him, but also on him.
Yeah.
Like he's having this weird fungus like growth on his hands, on his tongue.
It starts growing.
Like, it's all over it.
There's not a whole lot to talk about in this story aside from Stephen King's crazy performance. Because it's a very small story. There's not a whole lot of big effects in it. Not a lot of crazy stuff happens in it. It's
not a lot of
small.
twists and turns.
No.
It's really straightforward, but it is fun to watch.
It's still really fun to watch.
The third story is called Something to Tide You Over.
It's interesting because this one, it gets supernatural in the end, but for the most part, it's a pretty straightforward, like, serious story.
Yeah, it's not supernatural until the very end of it.
Because keeping on with our really well-known cast members, this one stars Ted Danson and Leslie Nielsen.
Yes. And they are both awesome.
It's crazy because Leslie Nielsen, Airplane, Naked Gun, all these comedic stuff, and he is the villain in the story.
And he's a good villain.
He is scary.
He's a frightening dude. Like,
he's so good in this.
Honestly, and his performance in this, and just I like the concept of it, makes this my favorite story.
It's my favorite story too. He's really intimidating too.
Yeah.
I would never expect Leslie Nielsen to be intimidating, but he is.
He really is.
So the story is Leslie Nielsen's wife, Becky, is cheating on him with Ted Danson.
Yeah.
So to get back at them, his plan is to go to the beach and bury them in the sand up to their heads, and then the tide will wash over and kill them.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's very serious.
It is.
For the first half.
It is dark.
It's really different than the first two stories.
What also makes it even darker is he forces Ted Danson to watch Becky get killed.
Yeah. And so it's really screwed out. So it plays it straight until the end, where it goes to the supernatural stuff and goes back to what the first two stories were kind of about, with the supernatural element, but it works.
Yeah.
Even though it kind of messes with the tone that was set up, you're still okay with it. It's still entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have minded if it did play it completely straight, the whole story, but this is Creepshow. It's, you
gotta have something a little supernatural.
You gotta have something ridiculous in it. This was very serious and, like, realistic, so you need to have something over the top to happen in the end, so I was okay with it.
Yeah.
And the ending is great, too.
The ending doesn't deter from it.
No.
It's still a lot of fun. No. Now, the fourth story, which is called The Crate, is another one that a lot of people remember.
Yes.
I've seen t-shirts for this one.
Yeah.
I've seen, the same with Father's Day, but, like, this is one of the ones that, like, a lot of people tend to remember, and for good reason.
So the plot of this one, it starts out in a college, and there's this janitor who's cleaning up, and he drops his quarter, and he goes under these stairs. And he finds this crate that is labeled 1880 something. So he calls up this college professor to come over and check it out, see what it is, see what's inside of it. And what's inside of it turns out to be a creature of some sort.
Yeah.
And people die and mayhem ensues.
The reason I like this one so much is not just for, like, crazy creature effects, which are cool. Like, the creature's this weird ape thing.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
And, like, just the whole concept of this thing living under these stairs for all these years with nobody knowing is cool. But what I like the most is how, like, the dark turn it takes.
It sounds very straightforward and simple, but there's actually a lot to it with the characters. You have the college professor's friend, who has this overbearing wife who just will not shut up. She's overpowering him. He just doesn't do anything about it.
He just can't stand her.
Yeah.
So he absolutely hates her. And you can tell because they have these really over-the-top scenes where he just has, like, these weird sort of dream sequences.
They're, like, imagining stuff.
Yeah.
It's like in Dumb and Dumber at the end when Lloyd shoots Mary's husband.
Yeah. It's exactly like that, except darker.
Yeah.
And you don't like the wife either.
No.
She's just this annoying character.
Yeah.
So he can't stand his wife. And when he finds out that there's this creature that's just eating people and, like, leaving no trace.
He comes up with a plan.
to kill his wife.
Basically.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But this one has great build-up.
It really
to the
does.
creature. Well, even though it's a short, they still slowly build up to the reveal, to them opening up the crate, and like you see the creature's eyes a little bit, you see his hands, until it finally reveals the entire thing. And all the performances are all really good. You actually like all the characters. They're all interesting.
Yeah. Except the wife.
Except the wife.
But you're supposed to hate her. So.
Yeah, yeah. Unlike some certain character in a Tremors movie who you just plain hate.
Had to bring that up.
Yeah. Anyway. Just a really good story.
Yeah, very, very solid. My
Yes.
second favorite in this movie.
Yeah, it's a great creature story. It has some good gore effects, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good special effects.
Yeah. So, very memorable one. So this leads us to the last story in this movie, which is called They're Creeping Up on You. Of all the stories in this movie, I wouldn't say it's like close to my favorite, but it's definitely the one that makes me feel the most uncomfortable.
Yes, it's a very uncomfortable story.
It's really, really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It follows this dude who's like, I guess he's the head of this company.
Yeah, he's a really rich guy who's head of this company.
Yeah.
And he's an asshole.
Yeah, he's a total dick.
Yeah.
And he lives in this apartment that's completely white and completely germ-proof.
Yes. He's a pretty big germaphobe.
Yeah, definitely a really big germaphobe. But he kind of learns that this place isn't as germ-proof as he'd like because he has a roach problem.
Yes.
A really bad one.
Yes, which I don't know if I want to get into it too much, but that escalates
A lot.
to an insane degree.
Yeah.
It starts out funny because him just being a dick to people and stuff like that. Like this is part of the beginning of the segment where this wife of this employee of his who killed himself calls him up, just complaining to him like, you caused this or whatever. He's just like, oh yeah, okay, that's fine. Oh, that's wonderful, okay.
10 minutes later, I heard the shot.
Yes. George Genron told me old Norman went out with a bang.
She's a great character that hates.
Yeah, really fun to hate.
Yes.
And so you don't really mind seeing all the stuff that happens.
Yeah, but you do just because it's uncomfortable.
It's really uncomfortable.
Yes.
Whether you don't like bugs or whether
even if
you're
you
okay
do,
with them,
yeah, it's still
it's
gonna
really, really uncomfortable.
It just gets into your skin
and
because
it's way worse if you don't like cockroaches.
Exactly, because cockroaches just start appearing everywhere. In everything, in the food and
absolutely everywhere, and it just gets so bad
to the point where it pretty much just consumes the place.
Yeah,
it's the most disgusting story out of all
I
of them.
definitely say so. It's the one that's always made me the most uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and they do a very good job of that.
Aside from the beginning parts with him and the stuff, it's not very fun compared to those stories. Those stories have dark elements to them, but they all have a sense of fun to them. This one doesn't really have as much of a sense of fun to it.
No.
Which is kind of a problem, but it's still very entertaining because it gets so ridiculous by the end.
Yeah, I still really like this story quite a bit.
So as a whole, the movie works because all these segments are all good.
Yeah.
They're all really entertaining compared to some anthology films where some work and some don't. And it's like, can you recommend the whole movie if some segments don't work? You know? These ones, they all work.
They all work, so it's really easy to recommend this movie.
It's like, recommend the movie, you like everything about it.
Yeah. It's seriously, there's very little to dislike about this movie.
It's such a fun movie. Again, it's a comic book come to life.
Yep.
In its style, in its stories, and its exaggeration on everything, which makes it such a blast to watch. So, out of 10.
Out of 10, I'm going to give this one an 8.5.
I'm going to go 9.
Go 9.
9 out of 10.
It's not perfect by any means.
Yeah, I understand. I love it so much. I have to go 9.
Yeah. So that's Creepshow. Just absolutely
It's
great
a blast.
movie.
It's
Really,
a blast.
really fun.
From just horror masters like George Romero and Stephen King and Tom Savini. Just
so good.
Perfect combination. It worked.
And it
great.
It was perfect. Like, it's exactly what you would hope from like a collaboration from those three guys.
If you haven't seen it, just check it out.
Just do yourself a favor.
So we'll be back to talk about the sequel,
Creepshow 2, which, has its moments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we'll get into that next time.
Yeah.
So, until then, thank you guys very much for watching.
I'll talk to you later.